Travis saved you for me till Monday because I've had a hard week and I needed you.
Yeah.
And remember, Steph, the famous saying that the buck stops at the snake oil salesman
Right.
surrounding the president.
That is no legal excuse, is it? Oh, he listened to crazy people, so that's why treason's okay.
Yeah, and apparently these are the same snake oil salesmen that advised Trump throughout his career, and that's why he filed 6 bankruptcies and was a failure at everything he ever touched. I mean, the people who are still willing to deflect for Donald Trump, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well, you tweeted, Pence says Trump is wrong about his ability to overturn an election. This was an unexpected moment of truth and candor from Pence, but Mike Pence is no hero. I've been saying, of course, the same thing all morning. He would come testify without a subpoena if he was an actual hero and wanted to tell the truth to the American people, right?
Yeah, and people jumped all over me for that in a follow-up tweet this morning where I said, look, Pence said Donald Trump is wrong. Pence's closest aides are testifying for 6 to 8 hours at a time in front of the House Select Committee. Does that make Pence a hero? No. But you know how I built cases, Steph? I built cases with really bad people who were finally willing to say something about someone who was higher up on the criminal food chain. I will do business with Mike Pence all day, every day, while still wanting to hold him accountable for his own crimes and misconduct, like heading up the task force and standing silent while Donald Trump killed us. But you know what? It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And sometimes you have to do business with those people, but you go into it with your eyes open. You don't say, this man is a hero and he's absolved of all his sins and crimes.
Well, I keep calling it, there was a very low Bill Barr for Republicans to do the right thing. Speaking of which, Bill Barr needs to come testify. I mean, he did any number of, I don't know if you want to call them immoral, illegal things for Donald Trump, whatever you want to call what he did with the Mueller report, but he clearly, this was too much for him, right? I mean, this was obvious. And by the way, Pence and Barr, I feel like they would have done anything if they could have. If they tried to find every way within the law to do what Trump wanted, didn't they? It was only when they found they absolutely couldn't, because there was absolutely no evidence of anything, that it was too much and he had to go. But Bill Barr has got to testify, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's our lawyer.
Yes, he does. And let's face it, Bill Barr gave birth to Donald Trump's ability to dodge responsibility for Trump Russia, for what we saw in the Mueller report. Had Bill Barr been an attorney general for we the people and had not lied to us about the Mueller report and basically tanked our ability to hold Trump responsible for the crimes that were documented in volume 2 of the Mueller report, we wouldn't be here today. So Bill Barr, gave birth to Donald Trump, and a lot of the responsibility for what happened from that minute forward, from the moment the Mueller report was released forward, is on Bill Barr's shoulders. Not to mention, right before everything broke extraordinarily bad in early January 2021, Bill Barr ran out of the burning building and left us all inside to perish. So, yeah, Bill Barr needs to be held accountable, needs to be prosecuted for his own crimes, but I will still welcome his testimony because it will help build the criminal case against Donald Trump. That doesn't mean Bill Barr gets a pass, but it means he should man up, he should woman up more accurately and come in and testify.
So let's talk about, speaking of which, you said, what are the options for the House Select Committee now that a disgraced treasonous lawyer, Jeffrey Clark, pled the fifth more than 100 times, but who's counting? And what challenges await the DOJ in the investigation and prosecution of one of its own? Further, you said, so a former high DOJ official refuses to testify because his truthful testimony about what he did as a high DOJ official would incriminate him, and this is being investigated by the DOJ. This poses real challenges on the conflict front, particularly the appearance of conflict. So talk to us about just that.
Yeah, the conflict is a real challenge for the Department of Justice. Usually if there's a conflict in a criminal case, let's say the judge owns stock in the company that is on trial, that's a direct conflict, right? The judge can't sit in a case that will impact the judge's own financial bottom line. It gets a little bit more subtle when you talk about DOJ investigating DOJ former high officials, because there's no other. DOJ can't recuse and send it to another federal prosecutor's office for, conflict-free handling, because we only have one DOJ. But here's the thing. Think about this, Steph. If DOJ fully investigates Jeffrey Clark and somehow they come to the conclusion that we can't indict him, there's not enough evidence, whatever, is there anybody in this country who would accept as legitimate that conclusion? No. We would say, at a minimum, that is cronyism, protecting one of your own, and at a maximum, it's abject corruption and dereliction of duty by the Department of Justice. So DOJ is in a no-win situation, because any decision it makes about one of its own high officials will be viewed as illegitimate by one faction or another. So that's why I think we need to consider special counsel. If we had independent counsel, that would be perfect, but that law lapsed in 1999. Independent counsel was completely pulled out from under the Department of Justice leadership. Special counsel isn't, but at least there are some protections built in to the special counsel process that would help give any decision by special counsel more legitimacy.
Yeah. Well, you wrote a piece about, you said the mother of all subpoenas is the federal grand jury subpoena. Witnesses generally don't ignore, defy, or mock federal grand jury subpoenas because ignoring them can result in bench warrants and arrest. If a witness asserts a privilege, we head straight to the chief judge's courtroom to litigate the privilege in real time and resolve the matter. Compare that timeline, days or occasionally weeks, to former White House counsel Don McGahn's congressional subpoena battle, which took over 2 years. I mean, this is why, Fani Willis, God bless her, right? But someone was saying, she doesn't have the resources. And this is obviously a national conspiracy that involved Georgia among many other states. As you say, if the Justice Department doesn't prosecute Trump and he runs for re-election, we can expect him to talk about his confirmed innocence at every rally. Trump will say he will boast that the DOJ's considered decision was not to bring a single criminal charge against him as proof positive he did absolutely nothing wrong. You're absolutely right. He will.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Donald Trump spins losses into what he claims to be victories, right?
Yeah.
He extorts and bribes President Zelensky on a phone call, and he calls it a perfect phone call, and his supporters believe him. He is, barely escapes removal from office in an impeachment proceeding, and he declares it a complete and total exoneration. The Mueller report gets released, and Volume 2 says Donald Trump committed as many as 10 federal felony obstruction of justice crimes, and again, he calls it a total exoneration. What will he do if Merrick Garland's Department of Justice refuses to indict him? He will have a cardboard cutout of Merrick Garland that he will drag up on stage at every campaign rally, drape his arm over the cardboard cutout, and say, Merrick co-signed everything I did as president. He told you by his decision not to indict me that everything I did was legal. So Merrick Garland says, vote for Trump.
Yeah.
That's what he will do.
Yeah.
He will spin losses into perceived wins. And at that point, Steph, we're done.
Yeah.
2024, Donald Trump succeeds. We fail as a republic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not hyperbole. Let's talk real quickly about two others. You tweeted about guys like John Eastman and Mark Meadows are corrupt birds of the same criminal flock, and for them, justice must come because hashtag justice matters. Thank you. Day 52 of the Mark Meadows indictment watch, unless he's quietly cooperating, doubtful, or be considered as a potential defendant in a larger conspiracy case, the delay is troubling. So where do you think we are with that? The good news is you said the vast majority of the 475 plus witnesses who are testifying, some for many hours at a time, are giving up the goods, in my opinion. So, we have a lot, but we just don't know where we are up the chain, do we?
We don't. We know that the House Select Committee is going gangbusters, and they do us proud every day. And they do have the goods. They're approaching 500 witnesses, and these people are sitting down for 6 and 8 hours at a time. How do you think we found out Donald Trump had been shredding all these documents, eating some? Omarosa told us that. Thank you. And dragging them down to Mar-a-Lago or sending them over to the Pentagon to be burned. That's because the House Select Committee is unearthing all of this information. 500, as many as 500 witnesses are cooperating, and just a small handful, the cover-up caucus, right? The Meadows and the Jordans and the Perrys are refusing to cooperate. Which side do you want to be on? I also believe, Steph, that DOJ is involved in the covert piece of the investigation of the entire insurrection. There are a lot of things that can be accomplished covertly in a criminal investigation before we start handing out grand jury subpoenas, because that tends to then seep out into the public square. So I think they are still dug in on the covert piece of it. They're moving too slow. They're miscalculating the need to step it up to save our democracy and to reduce the anxiety level of we, the people, who are dying a little bit every day because we see high government officials who have committed crime going unpunished.